Alright, welcome back to Metal Heroes Review, episode number 45. This one I'm viewing the second ever superhero tension movie released. Kamen Rider X, Super Sentai X, Space Sheriff, Superhero Tension Z. That is literally the title of the movie. Now, the reason why I picked this movie next to watch is because it's an experience of Geki, aka Space Sheriff Gavin Type G. Which the sub still doesn't want to call him Type G. They call him simply Gavin. I don't get it. So, this movie does tease some stuff for me I'm going to be seeing in the future. Like there's elements of this movie from Kamen Rider Wizard, which I'm going to get to that really soon. As a matter of fact, I'm going to spoil it here. It's going to be the second to last series. I'm rewatching. Before my break for Tokusatsu. And also Cure Ranger, which is the first time I actually anything with them that I can think of. Probably since their team movie with Zoo Ranger, Go Busters, and Abba Ranger. I've seen that movie. The one that was adapted for that really good standalone episode, part of that crossover trilogy they had during Beast Wars, which was awesome. Yep, so the movie starts out with this diver in the ocean just diving, and then all of a sudden this magic symbol comes out of nowhere. Yes, the whole thing in this movie is all about magic. So he gets teleported to a bathhouse. Yes, a bathhouse. And then we see what looks like the Japanese version of Disney World. We have this couple and this spinning teapot, and they get transported from the middle of the ride into a street. And apparently it's happening all over the world. And apparently Wizard, and this is actually the first time I've ever seen this guy in action. Yeah, first time isn't anything related to this character. Now, great look for his suit, the way we see it. He has an assistant there too, who is a friend of his. So, and then he's confronted by the new Space Sheriff Gavin. Yep. He's confronted by him. And like, ooh, your magic is a source of all this. I'm going to basically attack you for peace. So they start the brawl. And at one point, basically, during the fight, like, some debris about to fall on a child, so he basically grabbed, and of course, his assistant, what's the girl's name here? I think her name is Hideto, I think her name is. It's, Komi. Yeah, Komi. Yeah, so basically, says, apparently, Wizard's not his only target. Apparently, he also needed to take down Commodore Beast. He doesn't show up until about 30 minutes in the movie. Yeah. And his form, when I saw his Kamen Rider suit, and I'm like, did the creators of Kamen Rider Wizard rip off Geki Ranger with this suit? Because he looks a lot like Leo from Geki Ranger. That's what it reminded me of. The suit reminds me very much. It's like they took the lion that was his chest and put it on his shoulder. Looks like virtually the same suit, just redesigned. Except it's gold instead of black. And this gold thing comes out a little bit later in the movie. We'll get to that. So, and then of course, basically then we have he gets teleported and he gets confronted by some of the villains movie. So he gets attacked by the debuting Space Shocker. Yep, and we get a debut of 3 brand new villains in this movie. Yes. 3 brand new villains were created specifically for this movie. We have Space Inca Devil. We also have Space Spider-Man. Yeah, for the Spider-Man, this actually is the first new version of this character. This is the first like Heisei version of this character since the 70s. Inca Devil, of course, I believe is like a new version of apparently he's from Wizard, but he's like a reincarnation of Inca Devil, who was actually Dr. Death. Yep. And this movie is his debut. So, and we also see various other villains part of this group. We have Revived Scorpion Man. We have Skur's Darts. Yeah, he's a character from Kamen Rider 4Z. There's also Skagarin. He is from Kamen Rider Decade. Yes. There is Zuja, who is from the original Kamen Rider series. He made his debut in Kamen Rider versus Shocker. Yeah, this actually, I think it was his first appearance since that movie. Let me check here about that. No, he did appear a couple more times, but prior to this movie, last time he appeared was actually in Double O, Dano, all Riders, that's what Kamen Riders, which I'm very much looking forward to seeing that movie soon. There's also Subdegron, who was from the original Kamen Rider series. Yeah, he's in like 2 episodes of the series, 14, 15. Yes. And this one, this was actually his first appearance since Kamen versus Super Shocker. Yeah. And by the way, that movie came out in 1972, while this movie came out in 2012. What's 2013, was it? Let me take a look here about that. This movie came out in 2013, so it's been like, at this point, like about 41 years since his last appearance. Yeah. I was kind of surprised about that. There's also Basinger Was, who is from Kamen Rider Riki. Yeah, he's in this movie too. Arbertson, who... Yeah, he's from the series Kamen Rider 555 and the Kamen Rider Outsiders. You're thinking, what the heck is Kamen Rider Outsiders? It's a kind of like a... It's kind of like an anime. They also have Scorpion Zondarts, which is the grunts from Kamen Rider 4Z. Of course, also they have the Shocker Kamen, because they're Space Shock. Of course, they have the popular one with the luchador mask. They also have like some from the original. It basically gets a mix of like all three versions of basically them. Yep. It's basically like the original one with the black shirts and the like one with the red top, and we have basically the black red beret. We have basically the black, the red, the Brett, and the Bone Combat Men, which is great to see these guys, and the Chaps, which are from Kamen Rider RX. Yeah, they actually work for the villains of the series, Crisis Empire, which I believe this is probably their first appearance since that show wrapped up. Let's see. Yeah, it may have been. Yeah. Yep. And of course, we'll get to basically who. They all survive other monsters when they have the sea, like, Army of Resurrected Monsters. We have Nacho Benki from the series Go Onger. Yes, a guy who last been in the previous Tanch movie, and Go Onger versus Geki Ranger. Chokamiko from Kamen Rider Deed. And we have two villains from Sharekenger. Yes, we have the main bad guy of the series, Daku. Yeah, he makes a return here. And get this. This is the first actual appearance of this guy since the end of Sharekenger. Yes, seriously. Actually, a second appearance, because he did appear in the previous dance movie. But yeah. After this, he appears one more time in Zoonger. And Dayu returns in this movie as well. Yep. I think for her, this may have been her first appearance since this. Let me take a look on here. Let's see. Dayu, her last appearance was actually in Shuriken. It actually was a return and her last ever appearance in the franchise. They also brought back Long in his Infinity Dragon form for this movie, in his final appearance ever. And he is one of like 4 villains they brought in from Geki Ranger. They also brought in Sinnoh, the turtle one. Yeah. In his final appearance. Sengu, the guy who was kind of formed with basically the monster form for Geki Red's father, in his last appearance. And Sea-Fist Demon Riku, one of the teachers of the main character of the lead villain, or one of the villains, anyways, in her final appearance. We do see return of a few characters from Geki from Gokaiger, Chief of Staff DeMorris. Yes, and if you're curious though, because the Gokaiger in the movie as well, does he have interaction with Gokaiger? Yes, very, very briefly. Yes, his last appearance actually was in Go Buster versus Gekiri. He appeared one more time after this in Zenkin's movie Red Battle All Sentai Rally. It's like, oh, he briefly exchanges swords with Gokai Red and no talking for some reason. I'm not sure why. There's also Dairu, his replacement from the last few episodes of the series. Yep. There's also the bodyguards, the Snake Bears, also from that series. Furious Demon God Geki from Bokenger. Yes, in his only appearance once the series wrapped up. Yeah, actually second appearance because he did appear also in the previous movie as well. But yeah, in his final appearance. And then they brought in Round Doubler, who appeared on Go Busters. I'll get some more on him when I get to Go Busters. And get this, 2 out of the 4 villains from the previous Gavin movie. Round Doubler is Zanfrio as a quick cameo. And there's been a shocker who exactly is behind some of the stuff here, so I'll get to more of that. So they're attacked, and then of course basically then he gets transported to a baseball stadium where he's confronted by the Q Rangers, the Sentai used for Dino Charge, and they're fighting for a while, and then Guys pops in. And here's the interesting thing. Guy is the only actor from Gokaiger returning to this movie. Marvelous's voice is there, but as for the rest of the Gokaiger, they do pretty much nothing. They're there, they don't get any role, they're basically there as basically just background. You're thinking, Marvelous. I'm glad the fact that his actor came back to reprise the role for a voiceover, but it's a shame that the rest of the cast couldn't do it. I get why Guy is here. In story, there's a reason why he's here, because he's from Earth. Of course he's here. So, Wizard and Q Red basically fight each other, and then of course, as in the case of Geki, because he failed to kill Wizard, he is stripped of his command because he disobeyed direct order from the original Space Sheriff Gavin, who took over from Commander Quilm. Yeah, he took his job. Apparently he retired at some point. Yeah, he retired and he took over his job. He's very, and by the way, somehow they calculated that Wizard was responsible for it. I'm like, how? The most faulty information there. But no, he goes on information. It's like basically Issue, well, let's call him the original Gavin, is basically basis on very faulty information. They assume it's Wizard because he uses magic. And speaking of magic, where's the Magic Rangers? They use magic, but yet they're not in this movie. You're like, really? And yet the whole basis of the movie is magic, and yet they're not here? So, Shivan, we actually see him a couple times outside of his suit. Cider pops the movie as basically just background. We actually hear his voice, but you don't see the actor. Shivan, this actually was his second ever appearance. This is the replacement one. Because after this movie, the next time he appears will be the next movie we talk about with his Next Generation movie. Yep. And pretty much basically him and Schneider are here just to say, hey, we have 2 movies coming up. Please watch them. Which I'll watch those next. So it's like, now let's do it now you've been shifting your role. So he goes to Earth. And so then he tries to talk to Wizard about it, and Guy is there, and then Shriven shows up, attacks them. It's like, what is up with the space sheriffs in this movie where they're acting completely irrational? Well, they're basically you have Geki, who basically is questioning, why in the world are we going after them for? Because our data says we have to go get them. And by the way, Planet Birds, the CGI Planet Bird, we see the movie. Now, I don't know why in the world whoever wrote this movie wrote the space sheriffs to be mostly, basically he wrote the original Gavin to be irrational, not completely out of character for him until, like, the last moment. Shriven, I don't know if this really is a character, because he barely appeared in the last movie. He appears here, too. But why the heck are the space sheriffs appearing out of character? Yeah, they're the ones antagonizing. At least, here's the thing. At least you'll have Gokai Red, the guy who initiated the last movie. At least you'll have him, basically, acting out of character. He actually acts in character this movie, which is nice. So, and of course, he tries to transform is blocked. Oh, don't worry, it's unlocked. Don't worry about that. So, they find let's basically and of course, Wizard's Bird comes by. Hey, I know how we can get rid of this guy. How about having him fight the Space Shocker? Yes, let's have the new Sherman fight Space Shocker. Okay, interesting. And then of course they kind of separate to form their own initiative plans. Kira Red does new. Here's something interesting though. Despite the fact the Kira Rangers are in this movie, they don't do a lot of anything. They're basically there as supporting characters. It's like, here are your primary characters for this movie. You have the new Gavin, you have Wizard, and there's one other character. This is a bit of a surprise for me, because so then we have the strange object fall from the sky where we see Yellow Buster camping. Oh, and she's like the other main character in this movie, Yellow Buster. Yes, seriously. She is like the other primary character. There is a subplot with this cyclone thing, and it's connected to the plot of the movie. So then, of course, they have Geki, who follows some of the thing too, and we see who actually is responsible for this. And the people responsible for this are, get this, you're gonna love this, Mandu. Yes, the space crime syndicate Mandu is responsible for all this mess in this movie. Yeah, making their return since the Shriven series. At least Shriven actually recognizes who the heck they are, because here's the thing. He's actually the same planet that Shriven the original Shriven is, but he's basically the new Inga. So we have Geki follow. He's synced to the castle, and then we see Shadow Moon, who last appeared in the previous movie, getting killed off by some people who don't recognize him. And we see return of Ryder. Yes, in his final appearance in the franchise. And they changed his actor. But I did look up basically the reason why they changed his actor. You want to know the reason why? His actor died. Yep, he died in 1998, which is about the just prior to death of the third Space Sheriff actor. Yeah, he does his normal thing. He runs around, and I love the fact that Shadow Moon basically is acting a bit in character. I say a bit, but yeah, that's the strange thing about him in this movie. It's like, apparently since RX, he has not been written to be in character the way he was written in the original series. And I have heard that his portrayal in this movie, now, like, it's like, the best way to describe, by the way, his previous appearance was in the previous Snatch movie, and Double Candle. He actually appears one more time after this in a web show, but this is technically his last film appearance he appears in. And then of course, they try to get away. Of course, Geki saves the new Gavin. And then we see Grenda and Skyden. I saw him like, who the heck are these two? Are these spaceships? No, they're from Kamen Rider 4Z. You're thinking, really? Yeah. They're from a movie from Kamen Rider 4Z. And this was their final appearance. Yeah, first time I see them, and it's their last time they appear. They're basically revived villains. And of course, Geki's there, and of course, the younger sister gets saved by Gavin. They get out of there. And apparently the plan is to basically take Earth as Moroku space. Well, Moroku space, they call it Gamma space for some reason. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's the suburbs. So they're like, okay, we gotta tell everybody, and of course, apparently Chevron already knows that they're responsible for this. So, and apparently, here is the plan by the Galactic Space Patrol to deal with this revived crime syndicate. Fire a freaking cannon at the planet Earth from Bird. I'm like, That's a stupid idea. Yeah. Apparently, this is the only solution to deal with them, is to fire this cannon at the castle. And this plays a role in the villain's plan. I am not kidding about that. So Yellow Buster basically gets followed by the villains movie. And then Guy proceeds to call up the heroes for backup. So, and then Yellow Buster, now by the way, the red and blue Buster, they do nothing in this movie. They show up, they're actually seen on screen. They play a very minor role in this movie. You're thinking, wait, the Go Busters are in this movie and they play a minor role. Well, Yellow Buster plays a role. She's one of the main characters. But Red and Blue Buster, nah, they're basically just there as supporting characters or background characters. Yes. And I'll be getting to their series soon. Don't worry about that. This is their exposure for them. So, you're thinking, wait, did you just see him 2 movies ago? Yes, that was actually their debut appearance. So, it was also before they found out about the plan, destruction. They're like, oh, maybe we should destroy the planet. And of course, Guy, who's from the planet, he actually is aghast the fact that New Gav basically suggested this. So, he gets up. Of course, he forms his own plan. So, they eventually, of course, Shevin agrees with the new Shevin agrees with New Gavin over the fact they should stop Moroku and delay the actual fire in the cannon. So, then, of course, they split the teams. And then, of course, basically, Gavin, who gets his powers back after following... They basically have the 3 characters. You have Wizard, Yellow Buster, and Gavin basically traveling. Of course, they get separated. Of course, I think it's Wizard who basically says that. And, of course, Gavin goes with Yellow Buster. And, of course, then Wizard is saved by Live Man. Yep, Live Man. Yep, saved by the Live Man. Great to see these guys again. Oh, by the way, how does Gavin's thing gets unlocked? Why? Quite simply, really. You want to know how? Basically, get this. The actress who plays Shelly plays Shuriken Yellow. First time... here she is appearing in this movie, and she just unlocks the thing, or she appears later on as part of this massive fight sequence. Yep. Yeah, and of course then basically to save Guy, his team shows up. Yep, his team shows up and given Metal Hero keys to defeat some of the villains. Yeah, not only that we have Live Man, we also have Super One shows up later in the movie. I'm like, boo your actor because he's a freaking jerk, but I love Super One. Yeah, it's like a massive sequence. We also see Kamen 4Z. I'm like, because he's like, I've only watched up to footage from 4Z, but because I watched it via Linkaro's view, and I'm like, yay, 4Z's here because he's awesome. Yep. So he's here. He helps out. Like they even bring in Flashman. Like they bring like a whole bunch of heroes here. Yeah. And we also see the Ginga Man, the Deca Ranger, Bokenger, Gekka Ranger, Shurikenger, Gokaiger, the whole team. Cure Ranger shows up too. And we have even Amazon and Decade. Yes, Decade. As in, one of the guys instigated the last movie, he here is here transformed for reasons. Helps out the heroes. It just really, it's like a massive brawl. And then, okay, so apparently the big plan of the movie is to revive Demon King Psycho. The main bad guy from the Shriven series is basically revived in this movie. Yes, unlike Don Hoare, who gets almost revived, Psycho's revival is actually successful. At least not sacrificing a woman. And of course, Ryder proceeds to, like, he gets, first you have Kid Ranger kills Shadow Moon, and then Ryder gets killed by a lot of the Kamen Riders, some Kamen Riders, and And of course, your space sheriffs show up, and then of course he gets destroyed by the team that seems are there. And then you're like, oh yeah, here's my massive army. And you have all these villains show up, and then like, huh, you think we're late for the party? And then we see Aka Ranger from Go Ranger and Kamen Rider 1 show up, along with a bunch of Kamen Riders and the rest of Super Sentai. And there's the Kamen Riders appear here. Kamen Rider 1, 2, V3, X, Black RX, Kuga, Riki, Hibiki show up on the bells, Fazi, Kabuto, Dano, Double O, Meteor show up earlier. Yeah, it's just a massive brawl. Yeah. Yeah, and of course they destroy all the monsters, like a big humongous attack, and then Psycho gets revived. And like, haha, and then like, oh, they're out of time because the original Gav decides to fire the cannon anyways. And he's like, oh crap, gotta stop firing the cannon. So the space sheriffs decide to go in space to stop the cannon themselves. And they do. And apparently the power is used to revive Demon King Psycho for his brand new appearance in this movie. So the Kyo Rangers summon their Megazord while the rest of the Rangers deal with the remaining the monsters. And he's not doing it. Wizard decided to join inside the Megazord, which I believe this is the first time they actually had a Kamen Rider inside one of the Megazords. And they're not doing too well. And then, of course, basically, they chase Demon King Psycho to space. And then, oh, the space sheriffs are alive! And they all basically blast them all to hell. And the castle was completely destroyed. And they all go their separate ways. And, of course, Genki is like, yeah, I'll leave your people in charge of the planet now. Like, okay. Your people, as in the Sentai and probably the Kamen Riders, because Space Sheriffs basically... You think, are the Space Sheriffs done? Not really, no. Because next time they appear are in the two next generation movies. That's next time they appear. And then they also appear in the Space Squad movies. There are two of them. Yep. But man, this movie is just awesome. Oh, by the way, 4C gets separated. He gets saved by a character named, where is he here? Yeah, Beetle from Go Buster shows up here too. But we also have Inzaman. Yes, Inzaman from 4Z, who actually debuted in the movie Kamen Rider X, Kamen Rider Wizard in 4Z. Yeah, he makes appearance here. But it sadly is his final appearance. He gets saved by he saves 4Z. Yeah, kills a monster movie. It's like, okay. So this actually was his return since that movie. And he's successor to the original Inzaman. Yeah, he's successor to the original. Yeah, a character who debuted back in the 70s. And it's like, everyone goes separate ways. And of course, they have the whole thing of like, oh, let's have some barbecue. And of course, the whole plot of basically, the Cycle thing. He was actually part of Cycle King's intelligence and he escapes. And of course, they show the thing anyways. Cycle himself only appears in this movie. He does not appear again after this, sadly. Some of you are thinking, okay, what about the Go Busters? Do they actually return after this movie? Well, let's see. The Go Busters. Let's see. After the events of this movie, they actually return in, well, a movie that I've seen before. I haven't reviewed it yet. Basically, the dinosaur team up. They appear in Zooanger. Just transformed. But technically, next appearance will be in Zooanger versus Ninja Dimensions from the Future Super Sentai. Yeah, they make one appearance after this, and that's basically it for them, sadly. Great characters. Looking forward to talk about them. Yep. You're thinking, okay, what about their team's movie? Like, let's say, what about the Go Kaiger? Yeah, the Gokaiger. Do they return after this movie? They do. Yep, their next appearance, the team itself, they next appear in 2 episodes of Zoolander, and they also appear in Zoolander vs. Neolander Messages from the Future. They also appear in that team-up series, but they don't do much anything in there. But they appear a couple more times this. Yeah, a lot of the characters appear in this movie don't do much after this. How about, let's say, for Live Man, what was their last appearance prior to this movie? Well, they actually appeared in the previous Ninja movie, and they appear one more time. It seems like everybody last appears in the Ninja Onger vs. Zoolander movie, yeah, where they have basically like a team up with like a lot of the Sentai. Yeah, they also appear in that mini series, the Super Sentai Strongest Battle. That's basically the next time they appear. Yep. So, but as for Wizard, now in the case of this movie, they placed the movie for Wizard between episodes 32 and 33. As for Zoolander, just between episodes 10 and basically, so they have Karen Go make appearance in the movie, just there. And then basically credits, and we see a mysterious blue and red person, like, you're not the only person there. Yeah, I looked up who the heck this guy is, because I didn't immediately recognize him. And it turns out he's here to tease another movie. A reboot movie. Who is this guy? This is Kai Geider. And basically, the whole scene here is teasing his reboot movie that comes out the following year. It comes up basically following, basically came out like in 2014, the year after this reboot movie. And I will be discussing that one in the future, but not immediately. Not for quite some time. But it probably after I finish up Sentai and Metal Heroes and Kamen Rider when I get a chance to get to that one. So I won't get to that one for quite a while. But this movie was excellent. I loved it. But it's not perfect. It's not as good as, let's say, I saw for the Gab movie. Things I don't like about the movie. Number one, the space shares were to be irrational half the time before they finally come to their senses. Number two, oh, by the way, Shadow Moon's got his Satan sword, despite the fact that that was destroyed in RX. Yes. And he's here to be cannon fodder for the Cure Rangers. I don't like the fact that he didn't get a chance to do anything. In fact, RX appears in the movie, but he has no interaction with him. You're thinking, really? The guy who we fought in Black and he doesn't interact with him, he gets killed by the new Sentai? Yeah, I thought that was kind of weak. Raider, I thought, was really well written in this movie. I thought he was probably one of the best written villains of this whole movie. Space Shocker is cool. I love Space Shocker. Like, there's nothing really. Them, I find no fault with him. It's like the only villain I find fault with is Shadow Moon. Though he does appear like in a web show after this, but this is the last on-screen thing he does, aside from hearing stage shows. Yes, and those of you curious, is there any more tension movies after this one? Because this was the second one they ever did. Well, there is about 3 of them after this. Yep, there are 3. Next one is Heisei Rider versus Showa Rider, Kamen Rider Tensei featuring Super Sentai. Yeah, it's a Kamen Rider one where you have from basically 2 different eras fighting each other. And just involves Tokuger. There's also Superhero Tension GP Kamen Rider 3, which just basically involves more of the Kamen Rider stuff. Yeah, it doesn't really involve it involves very little of the Sentai. And the last one is Kamen Rider X Super Sentai Chu Super Sentai. That was actually the last one they did, and that came out just a few years ago. So basically, there's a few more left. But I appreciate if I got a chance to do this. But like I mentioned, the only reason why I watched this movie next because the Space Sheriffs were here. This was their next appearance after the previous movie. But it does give me basically like to see like, ooh, some stuff I can see in the future. Like stuff from 4Z I'm going to see in the future. Wizard. So give us some teases for that. I do appreciate that. This is spoiling, I think, from the other series of Kamen Rider, but at least 2 series I'm basically interested in. Wizard I moved up because of this movie. I moved out. We were going to do it a little bit later, but I moved it up to be one of the last ones I do before my next break from Tokusatsu, but that won't be for a bit. But the Key Rangers, they're coming up too, so I already knew that those were coming. That I was gonna get to that before my break because I had moved up Hurricaneger because that was supposed to be like a bit later. I moved it up, so I needed to fill that spot. So I put Kiranger in the spot it was before, and there's another series I want to talk about soon. But yeah, this is gonna be pretty much it for particular view. I'm gonna go ahead and do one comic corner, and I'm rest my voice. I have to go out briefly to go get some stuff, and I'll be back to work on, well, Moonlight Fantasy. I want to get that one done, and then case closed. Well, with Moonlight Fantasy, I work on the second comic corner. The second comic corner I'm ready to go. Yes, second one I'm ready to go, and then case closed. Not, and then next thing I probably, well, next movie we're gonna watch is gonna be Space Sheriff Shivan Next Generation. That's the next movie we're gonna watch. Yep, but choose the next movie, the next video. Also, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, turn notifications, and do not hit that dislike button. Okay, next video. Bye.